There is no person so poor that he has nothing to give to another person. A philosophical reflection on human value, generosity, and the essence of giving. In a world that often equates worth with wealth, contribution with productivity, and success with material gain, the statement, "There is no person so poor that he has nothing to give to another person," sounds quietly radical. It challenges the material lens through which we view generosity and forces us to consider deeper questions. What does it mean to give? What do we really offer each other as human beings? And is it possible that even the most impoverished, most isolated, most seemingly powerless individual still holds something of value? This video explores the profound truth buried in this simple sentence, drawing on moral philosophy, existentialism, psychology, and spiritual traditions to illuminate the human capacity to give, not despite our limitations, but through them. Rethinking value. What does it mean to give? We often think of giving in economic terms: food, money, shelter, resources. This is natural in a world where material survival depends on access to such things. But to reduce the concept of giving to currency or objects is to overlook the human core of generosity. What about time, presence, encouragement, a kind word, a piece of wisdom, an act of listening? The philosopher Martin Buber distinguished between two types of relationships: I-it, object-based, and I-thou, subject-based. In the I-thou relationship, the other person is not a means to an end, but a presence to be encountered. True giving, then, arises not from the abundance of things, but from the depth of relationship. To give is to recognize another person's humanity and to offer your own in return. The invisible gifts: dignity, attention, presence. Think of a person who has no home, no bank account, no education, no possessions. Can such a person still give? Absolutely, if we expand our idea of value. The gift of attention. In a distracted world, undivided attention is a rare currency. When someone truly listens, not to respond, not to judge, but to understand, they offer a healing space. A person in emotional pain, for example, can receive more from 5 minutes of presence than from $500. The gift of dignity. To see another as equal, worthy, and whole, especially when society does not, is an act of rebellion and generosity. The philosopher Emmanuel Levinas argued that ethics begins in the face of the other, in the vulnerable, exposed presence of another human being. To witness someone's existence with respect is to give dignity. The gift of story. Even a person with no material wealth may possess wisdom from hardship, stories from their life, laughter born from survival. These are not only gifts, they are irreplaceable cultural and emotional inheritances. In many spiritual and philosophical traditions, it is often the poor, the broken, the small who are the most generous, not in quantity, but in essence. Why is this? When one has little to cling to, there is less fear of loss. Paradoxically, those with the least are often most ready to share. Lao Tzu, the Taoist sage, wrote, "The more you give to others, the more you have." Giving becomes a way of being, not a transaction. Those who suffer often develop an expanded capacity for empathy. The poor know what it means to need, and thus may be more attuned to others' needs. The Stoics taught that true wealth lies in desiring less, not in owning more. A person who owns nothing but is content may be richer than someone who owns everything but lives in fear. Giving, then, becomes an expression of inner freedom, not material abundance. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Viktor Frankl insisted on one central truth: that no matter our situation, we always have the freedom to choose how we respond to it. Even in the most desperate conditions, we have the capacity to give meaning, presence, and ourselves. Sartre argued that we are condemned to be free, meaning we are always choosing. A person may not have control over their external situation, but they always choose how to engage with others. It's the choice to give, even if what's given is intangible. In Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl describes fellow prisoners in concentration camps sharing their last pieces of bread, comforting the dying, whispering songs in the dark. These moments of profound generosity came from people who had nothing, except the decision to love. Thus, generosity is not bound by circumstance. It is a freedom of the soul. Across cultures and spiritual traditions, we find echoes of this truth, that all people can give, and that giving is what makes us fully human. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus praises a poor widow who gives 2 small coins to the temple. Others gave out of abundance. She gave all she had. Dana is the perfection of giving. It can be material, but also spiritual. A smile, a teaching, a moment of compassion. The giver is honored not by what they give, but by why and how they give. In Islam, giving, zakat and sadaqah, is a core obligation. But even a poor person is expected to give. If not money, then a good deed, a kind word, or even a sincere prayer. No one is exempt from generosity. Many indigenous cultures operate on gift economies, where value is not measured in accumulation, but in flow. To hoard is shameful. To give, even when you have little, is a sign of integrity and honor. The idea that everyone has something to give also forces us to confront how we perceive others, especially the poor, the marginalized, the voiceless. Moving beyond pity. Pity is hierarchical. It says, I have, you do not. But this statement demands that we see the poor not as empty vessels to be filled, but as holders of their own value. To truly honor another person is to recognize their power to give, not just to receive. Modern societies often rank people based on economic output, social visibility, or measurable impact. But much of what makes life worth living, love, care, wisdom, creativity, joy, cannot be measured. A person in poverty may give these freely, abundantly, and more meaningfully than a millionaire philanthropist. To affirm that no one is so poor they cannot give is to affirm that dignity is universal. It is not earned through success. It is not lost in hardship. It is intrinsic to being human. Giving as a mirror, what we learn about ourselves. When we receive something from someone who seemingly has nothing, we are forced to examine our own assumptions about value, about superiority, about dependency. Can I accept a gift from someone I assumed had less than me? Can I be humbled by the wisdom of someone society ignores? Can I receive without rescuing and honor without condescending? Giving is not a one-way act. It is relational. And every act of genuine giving holds a mirror to both giver and receiver. The quiet power of non-material generosity. The quiet powers that often go unnoticed but shape our world in profound ways. The mother soothing her child in a shelter. The elder telling stories to preserve culture. The homeless man sharing his bread with a stray animal. The person living with mental illness who, despite their pain, offers a smile to a stranger. These acts are not small. They are the threads of humanity holding the fabric together. Conclusion: a philosophy of human worth. There is no person so poor that he has nothing to give to another person. This is not just a hopeful saying. It is a moral truth and a spiritual compass. It challenges systems that measure people by their output, challenges narratives that dehumanize poverty, and challenges us, as individuals, to look again at what really matters. To give is to affirm your humanity. To receive is to recognize the humanity in another. And in a world fractured by inequality, division, and loneliness, This mutual recognition, this shared act of giving,
may be the most revolutionary thing we can do.